morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show here on this happy Friday morning, November 17th, 2017. We thank you for tuning in to this completely live program here as we take you up until 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, kicking off your weekend. And we have a lot to get to here on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to start the show off with a Sunday Night Football preview talking about how important this Dallas Cowboys game is for their season hopes going to the postseason, to be exact. Throw away the script. We have breaking news still surrounding the Dallas Cowboys, however, but it's an off-the-field issue. This was broken just this morning by ESPN. Don Venata, friend of the Cam Rogers Show, hopefully getting him on pretty darn soon, and Seth Wickersham. The report, Roger Goodell assured Jerry Jones Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended for the alleged domestic violence situation that went on through the court system. Well, actually, didn't even go on to the court system because there were no charges pressed. But, of course, went through the court system in regards to the suspension that is currently intact. So Zeke is currently serving his 5-game or 6-game suspension. He has 5 games left. And all of this dating back to a rift between Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones because Goodell assured Jerry that Zeke would not be suspended. What happened? Well, first of all, according to this ESPN report, Roger Goodell faced pressure from surrounding NFL owners to suspend Zeke to get back at Jerry Jones. So clearly some owners are not within the Jones camp right now, while some owners, such as Dan Snyder, do indeed support Jerry Jones in this matter. So Goodell first told Jerry that he would not suspend Zeke. Goodell faced pressure from owners to do the opposite. Goodell gave in to that pressure, suspended Ezekiel Elliott, and Jerry Jones did not take that very lightly. He told Goodell, according to the report, "I'm going to come after you with everything I have." Later saying, "If you think Bob Kraft came after you hard, Bob Kraft is a P word." Fill in the rest, ladies and gentlemen. And more to this story, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was actually asked to be the next in line after Roger Goodell. Immediately said no. There are so many layers to this story. And you had the sense that the bubble was going to burst, some sort of bombshell report was going to come out. I actually had a good inkling of that because Don Venata was supposed to come on my show actually a week and a half ago, and he said he couldn't because he had to work on some breaking news. Perhaps this was the breaking news. And so if you're just tuning into the Cam Rogers Show, this is what's going on. Breaking story coming out of ESPN, Roger Goodell assured Jerry Jones that Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended, and clearly that did not go down because Roger Goodell faced pressure from surrounding owners to suspend Zeke to get back at Jerry, and now we have a civil war within the National Football League. A bunch of rich people going after each other right now. Now, we had, of course, fringe stories, peripheral stories about all of this with Roger Goodell and his contract extension that clearly has not been figured out yet. And you have the compensation committee that wants to give Goodell all these incentives, or Goodell is requesting it, and the committee seems to be going along with it. Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones having a bit of a rift. It all adds up now, ladies and gentlemen, because it all dates back to this story that just came out. Now, I'm going to read a couple of excerpts here because these are just absolutely astonishing. So in May, Jones asked Goodell by phone for a status update on the Elliott investigation. Jones later told several people that he came away from their conversation with an assurance that there would be no suspension for Elliott and that Goodell felt the running back should enter counseling and perhaps issue a statement showing contrition for his behavior. Okay, so Goodell clearly saying here that, look, Jerry, I'm not going to suspend Zeke, but maybe Zeke should get some help. Maybe Zeke should release a statement, and all will be fine. This goes totally against what I was arguing earlier this year, that the NFL was trying to get it right with their domestic violence policies. The NFL doesn't care about domestic violence. It's quite clear from this story. So I'll continue reading the excerpt here. Jones replied that Elliott wouldn't be contrite about domestic violence because he hadn't committed it. Quote, Jones told me, Roger told me there was nothing to worry about. The evidence just isn't there. That was according to a high-level source briefed on the call, saying further, Jerry was sure that Zeke was free and clear. So Jerry Jones, safe to say, was absolutely blindsided by the suspension issued by Roger Goodell. And so we have arguably the most powerful NFL owner going up against the commissioner of the National Football League. It's a civil war. Now, the NFL spokesman Lockhart recently released a statement in regards to this situation. Quote, absolutely no assurances were given to Jerry by the commissioner that there would be no discipline at any point in the process. So a public statement released clearly to the contrary of what the report is, this long-form story by ESPN right now that goes into the crux of it all. And Jones didn't know that Goodell was changing his mind. And he didn't know that Goodell was facing pressure both from a handful of league executives who felt Elliott should be suspended and from owners wanting Jones to be humbled. So we have different motivations here. Some of the owners thought Zeke should face the punishment because he got off in the legal system, I guess you could say, because no charges were pressed. And other owners essentially wanting Jerry Jones' ego to be deflated a little bit. This is amazing. And the fact that we're mentioning Adam Silver in all of this as well is amazing as well. Like, some people in the NFL world are actually inquiring about Adam Silver being the next commissioner after Roger Goodell. We have a reaction poll for you folks out there. This is completely live, and we're following the breaking news about Roger Goodell telling Jerry Jones that Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended. So pick a side in this civil war. Are you on Goodell's side in the NFL, thinking that Zeke should have been suspended, or maybe you are siding with Goodell that maybe you just don't like Jerry Jones? Or are you siding with Jerry Jones on the matter and that he was not treated fairly, he was slighted by Roger Goodell, lied to, etc.? Throw in the reactions. We'll be tracking the votes out there. We are completely live here on this program. Throw in your comments as well. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. The breaking news coming out this morning. Roger Goodell essentially assured Jerry Jones that Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended and that essentially Zeke, all he had to do was get some help, maybe release a statement, go on from there. Jerry Jones felt very good about the matter in that Zeke would not be suspended and the Dallas Cowboys would have a great season, do all that jazz. Clearly not the case because Zeke is currently serving his suspension. How did we get here? According to the ESPN report, Roger Goodell faced pressure from owners to suspend Ezekiel Elliott because A, they thought that Zeke should have been suspended, or B, they wanted to essentially get back at Jerry Jones, the most powerful owner in the NFL, and to deflate his ego. This is a long-form report out of ESPN, and it's quite a story here, looking at the excerpts. I'll read another one for you folks at home. Jones has told confidants that he has his own candidate in mind, which Jones has publicly denied. So talking about somebody to replace Roger Goodell. Gee, I wonder why Jerry Jones was trying to be the obstructionist now with the contract extension. Going on with the excerpt here. Few owners are interested in allowing Jones to essentially handpick the next commissioner. Even so, Jones has vowed, sources told ESPN, to make Goodell's life miserable. Quote, Jerry's message to Roger was, I run this league, you better get with it, a senior league executive told ESPN. Quote, this is about power and control, not the contract. That's all white noise. So the contract is literally a side story at this point now. This is about power. This is about control. This is about the Jerry Jones camp versus the Roger Goodell camp. And so in a season for the Dallas Cowboys where it could very well come down to this Sunday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles, because if they lose, they fall to 5-5, and they're already the 10th seed in the NFC playoff picture. Now you throw on this layer to the whole story, and it just does not help matters in the X's and O's department, on the field, etc. And you're seeing some of the details here in the full-screen graphics that we have for you at home. Jerry Jones telling Goodell, if you think Bob Kraft came after you hard, Jones called Bob Kraft a P word, ending in Y. Look at the text. You know what it is. So it's absolutely unbelievable, first of all, because Bob Kraft actually went to Goodell and essentially had his issues. Like, look, my quarterback got 4 games for deflating footballs more probably than not, according to the Wells report. And so he's saying, Bob Kraft is, why is Ezekiel Elliott getting off here? And so there is a clear rift inside the National Football League where you have Roger Goodell, who is going toe-to-toe with Jerry Jones. And the question is, who's more powerful now? The Goodell camp or the Jerry Jones camp? Jones has Dan Snyder on his side. Who knows how much that's really going to help? Snyder, of course, the owner of the Washington Redskins right now. But the amazing thing to me is that Goodell actually pivoted the way in which he did. Back in May, when Jerry Jones got on a call with Roger Goodell, according to this ESPN report, assured that Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended. And here we are, during the NFL regular season, talking about the Dallas Cowboys currently playing without their star running back in Zeke. Currently playing without Tyron Smith as well, and the left tackle, and Sean Lee. And you boil it all down with the Dallas Cowboys recently losing to the Atlanta Falcons in horrible fashion. It's all bottling up for Jerry Jones. This is more fuel for Jones to be angry at Roger Goodell. So as long as the Dallas Cowboys continue to lose, Jerry Jones is going to come back to Roger Goodell even worse. Even more so than he is right now with the statements that he has released and the anonymous reports from the league executives talking to ESPN here, saying that Jerry's message to Roger was, I run this league, you better get with it, is astounding to me. Astounding. And Jerry Jones essentially trying to create his own path to anoint the next commissioner. He doesn't want Roger Goodell to be the commissioner. That's why he's being an obstructionist with the contract negotiations right now. And so you have Roger Goodell on one side asking for his own private jet and all this money and incentives, etc. And so you have here an unbelievable situation. This is the Cam Rogers Show. I am Cam Rogers. Check me out on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I will fill you all in with the latest reports on Twitter after the show. Download the podcast version of the program as well on iTunes. Search the Cam Rogers Show. You can get me wherever you go. And so we are following the breaking news surrounding Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones that was released just this morning. If you're just tuning into the program, Jerry Jones was assured by the NFL commissioner that Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended for the alleged domestic violence situation. Remember, no charges were ever filed against Zeke in the legal system. Zeke fought a long and hard battle in the legal system in terms of the suspension by the NFL. The news most recently about that, Zeke dropping his appeal, the NFLPA dropping their appeal as well, and it's all over. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's not over. The war has just begun. And there have been a series of battles throughout all of this. It's clear, reading the ESPN report today, that Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones are not getting along, to put it nicely. And so you have Jerry Jones, who felt in a good position going into this year with the Dallas Cowboys. He felt good. He was like, okay, Roger Goodell told me Ezekiel Elliott would not be suspended. We're feeling good. Let's go into this season coming off a pretty solid campaign, going to the playoffs last year. We'll be good. And then Goodell. What happened? that led him to suspend Ezekiel Elliott? Pressure from owners within the NFL that they believe that either Ezekiel Elliott was guilty and that he should be suspended by the NFL, or they believe that Jerry Jones' ego was way too high for their liking and they wanted to humble him. Or it was the combination of the two. Jerry Jones, so angry about it, told Goodell, quote, "I'm going to come after you with everything that I have." So Jerry Jones is confident to the core that he is more powerful than Roger Goodell is. This is coming down to power. It is quite clear. This has nothing to do with the NFL's movement to be more strict with domestic violence or anything like that. Remember when the NFL had that 6-game policy, that legislation that, okay, automatically it's going to be 6 games? And I thought that's what the NFL was trying to do when they were going through the legal process, fighting for Ezekiel Elliott's suspension. It's not about that. It's about this Jerry Jones versus Roger Goodell situation. That's what it all comes down to. Jerry Jones to Roger Goodell most recently. Look at that quote right there. Even throwing some shade at Bob Kraft, essentially saying that Bob Kraft is nothing compared to what I'm going to do to you. Essentially what Jerry Jones is saying there. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was inquired about essentially supplanting Roger Goodell as the commissioner. Immediately said no. Adam Silver, probably a good decision. Stay in the NBA. The NBA is doing pretty darn good without all of this going on, all this noise. But the fact of the matter is we have a civil war between the Roger Goodell camp and the Jerry Jones camp. So where do you at home, ladies and gentlemen, sit? Throw us a laughing face of Roger Goodell. You support Roger Goodell in the NFL and its initiative, I guess, to be more strict with domestic violence, although it's clear maybe that's not the case anymore. Or an angry face for Jerry Jones. You support Jerry. You feel that Jerry was slighted by Roger Goodell because Jerry was assured that Zeke wouldn't be suspended. And so you're throwing up your angry face about that. It's an unbelievable situation, and I am reading through all the details just as you are at home. And it's astounding to me. If you're just joining us here on the Cam Rogers Show, this is the Cam Rogers Show on Chat Sports Facebook Live. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I'll be filling you all in throughout the day with this story. Like I said, I was talking to Don Venata, who partnered in this story with Seth Wickersham of ESPN, and he was going to come on my show actually a week and a half ago. And he said, Cam, look, I am about to drop some breaking news. I'm going to have to postpone my appearance on your program. And so I said, all right, appreciate that, Don, and look forward to having you back on the show. And we'll wait and see what the breaking news is. This is some serious breaking news. Don Venata with some fantastic reporting out of ESPN with Seth Wickersham. And I'll be reaching out to Don to come on the program hopefully sometime next week, maybe Monday morning, maybe Wednesday morning, to break this all down, because there are a lot of layers to this. This is a story where, okay, you look past the media report this morning and you go behind and past to the previous weeks. There was a rift between the compensation committee and Jerry Jones. Right? Jerry Jones was trying to be the obstructionist in all of this because he did not want Roger Goodell to have the extension to, shall we say, the extent that what it was, the private jet, all this money, etc. And a lot of us just thought, okay, this is just, a little bit of a rift. Jerry Jones doesn't want Roger Goodell with this much guaranteed money, but eventually they'll come to an agreement, the compensation committee and Jerry and Roger, etc., and everything will be okay. Now, all of a sudden, that is just a subplot to the larger plot that is going on here. It's Jerry, it's Goodell, it's civil war, it's amazing. It is a long-standing rift between these two. And I think, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and if you're just joining in now, the most significant part of this story was back in May when Jones and Goodell were on a phone call, and Goodell essentially said, don't worry, Jerry, I won't suspend Ezekiel Elliott. You'll be fine. Click. Phone call over. Jerry Jones leaving that phone conversation with confidence that he's going into this Dallas Cowboys season with Zeke as his running back, and clearly not the case. A lot went down in between the beginning of the year, the NFL season, and that May phone call. What exactly? NFL owners essentially telling Goodell and pressuring him to suspend Ezekiel Elliott because they feel Zeke was guilty, or that these owners wanted to get back at Jerry Jones because they just wanted his ego to be deflated. Wow. We are completely live here in the program, ladies and gentlemen, so we want you commenting, reacting, throwing in your thoughts about this entire matter. Do you think this is just a one big fat power struggle of the NFL? And do you think this is going to have long-standing repercussions in the league? There have been several negative reports in many different storylines about the NFL. The ratings, the Colin Kaepernick situation, and the perhaps collusion that's going on. At least that's what Colin Kaepernick is alleging. You have the PR nightmares with the domestic violence situations with Ray Rice and Josh Brown and Greg Hardy, and then you have the debacle that was Deflategate. All of that combined into one. You don't get that kind of stuff with the NBA or the MLB right now. Heck, that's why Adam Silver did not want to go on over to the NFL. He immediately said, no, I'm fine being the commissioner of the NBA right now. Not as much, bad press going on in that realm. But for the NFL, it's all of this together. And then you add on this unbelievable report this morning that Roger Goodell said, Jerry, Zeke won't be suspended. Here comes the pressure from the owners telling Roger otherwise. Roger suspends Zeke. Jerry says, watch your back. I'm coming for you with all I have. You have the most powerful NFL owner. There's the quote right there. That's exactly what he said to Roger Goodell, according to the ESPN report. I'm going to come after you with everything I have. So you have the most powerful NFL owner going after the NFL commissioner. It's war. It's going to be the story floating around for the next year. I mean, this is going to be going on and on and on. It's going to be part of the NBC broadcast on Sunday Night Football. You can guarantee that. Because, oh, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys have a game to play. They have their season to save. No Tyron Smith at the left tackle. Looks like they're going to start Byron Bell. No Sean Lee. Looks like it's going to be kind of a committee type approach there with Hitchens and Jalen Smith, etc., and Durant as well. And so you add on this, and it's just like the players are probably looking at Jerry saying, what is going on? And you have to imagine that there's going to be some sort of team meeting either today, either tomorrow, before this game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Jerry's world on Sunday Night Football. Because there's going to have to be some sort of dialogue between the players and Jerry, and Jerry's going to have to be up front with these players because this is very amazing to me. With all the quotes that are in this story, Adam Silver, Jerry's message to Goodell saying essentially, you better get used to the fact that I am better than you. That's essentially what Jerry Jones told Roger Goodell. And so, you think back also, this story here by ESPN, it's a long one. So there are a lot of layers to this. But go back on to August 9th. This is the top of the story here. So reading an excerpt. So starting off here with adhering to the protocol of giving owners a 48-hour heads up before a major disciplinary issue involving their team is announced, Goodell and Pash informed Jones that after a 13th-month domestic violence inquiry, the Dallas Cowboys star running back Ezekiel Elliott would face punishment, a 6-game suspension. So you go from May, right, where Jerry Jones was assured that Roger Goodell would not suspend Zeke. You go to August 9th, right here, it's in the story, right at the top. Oh, we're going to suspend Zeke. So in those months, in those days, in June, July, up until August 9th, something went down with the NFL owners that don't like Jerry Jones and the NFL owners that think Zeke is guilty, telling Roger, flip the script, suspend Zeke. And Jerry Jones was caught blindsided, and he doesn't like that. Oh, he does not. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. I am Cam Rogers. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I am following this story to the bitter core for all you Cowboys fans out there, for all you NFL fans, heck, you sports fans out there. This is a big-time story. And like I said at the top of the show and a couple of times as well, Don Venata reported this story by ESPN today. I've been in contact with him. Hopefully get him on my show either Monday morning or Wednesday morning. I broadcast live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We'll get Don on the show at some point to get the real details. Now, he's got a lot of details in this story, but we can get even more from that. And you better tune in for all you folks out there, because you can throw in your comments in the comments section, your questions for Don as well, and I can ask him during the broadcast. So hopefully Monday morning, Wednesday morning, we shall see. But in the meantime, do search The Cam Rogers Show on iTunes, and you can download the podcast version as well. If you're just tuning into the program, we'll review what has been essentially this first half of the show. The story this morning coming out of ESPN, Roger Goodell assured Jerry Jones that Ezekiel Elliott wouldn't be suspended. And as we stand right now, Zeke is currently going through his 6-game suspension. So what happened in between? In May, Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell had a phone call. And Roger Goodell assured Jerry Jones that Zeke wouldn't be suspended. And so you fast forward to August 9th, Roger Goodell telling Jerry Jones, oh, Zeke's suspended. What happened in between there? NFL owners, pressure on Goodell. And oh, by the way, with a contract extension in the wings here, of course Roger Goodell is going to listen to these owners, many of whom are on the compensation committee. Of course he's going to suspend Ezekiel Elliott after all that, even after assuring Jerry Jones that, I won't do this. Well, Roger Goodell thought about his wallet. He thought about the bottom line, and he said, okay, NFL owners on the compensation committee essentially want me to suspend Zeke to get back at Jerry Jones, to deflate his ego, and maybe to create some sort of justice for Zeke. I'll do that. And that's what he did. And Jerry Jones, a man of power in the NFL, probably the most powerful owner in the NFL, does not take that to liking. And so, reading some more details here, Roger Goodell is in a battle few saw coming. With the league's membership teetering on an all-out, unprecedented civil war, trust among owners and among senior executives inside the league office has all but evaporated. So this has so many layers, and another one at that, as we have here on the full-screen graphic. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was asked to be the commissioner of the NFL after Roger Goodell, who immediately, by the way, Silver did, said no. So, no, not surprising at all, by the way, with the way in which the NBA is doing just fine. With all the great play that's going on, Celtics are playing great. The Warriors and Celtics went at it last night, a fantastic finish on national TV, on TNT, Marv Albert, all that good stuff. Why the heck would Adam Silver leave the NBA? To go into this mess that's going on right now? And so the other thing that I want to mention too, Jerry Jones essentially trying to handpick the next commissioner of the National Football League. And a lot of the NFL owners not liking that either. So Jerry Jones is essentially saying to Roger, I'm better than you. I'm going to surpass you. I'm going to be an obstructionist. Go past your power and try to get the next commissioner in the NFL supplanted and with a job. So the story with Jones and Goodell is amazing to me because they used to be good friends. In 2006, Jones needed a loan to help build Jerry World. Goodell, then the COO, helped Jones get that loan. Jones returned the favor to help Goodell become commissioner in a narrow battle with league attorney Greg Levy. So that obviously is indicative of some sort of friendship. And even that May phone call was indicative of some sort of friendship, right? With Jerry Jones being assured that Zeke would not be suspended. And so going from that in May, in that story there with the loan about Jerry's World, to August 9th, where Roger Goodell just pulled a complete 180 and suspended Zeke for 6 games for allegedly committing domestic violence, that's a quick flip for sure. And Jerry Jones, I mean, like most people in power, you know, it comes with the territory. They don't like feeling slighted. They don't like feeling belittled. And that's probably how Jerry Jones feels right now, right? He felt that he was going to have Zeke at the running back position in the 2017 season for the Dallas Cowboys, coming off a year where they were fantastic running the football and hoping to do it again. Going from that to, well, now we got to figure out how to implement Rod Smith and Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden into some sort of committee right now. And with that loss recently to the Atlanta Falcons, number one, they looked awful. The Cowboys did on the field. Number two, Jerry Jones does not like Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. Blank is on the NFL Compensation Committee, the committee that is going through the negotiations right now with Goodell, etc., to create a contract extension. So it's a loss on the field for the Cowboys and a loss off the field in Jerry Jones' mind because Arthur Blank can smirk at Jones and say, ha, we won, we crushed you. We sacked your quarterback an amazing amount of times without your star left tackle, obviously. And so Jerry Jones coming out of that locker room, can you just imagine how heated he is? And he was. And so you bring in this story here by ESPN, the breaking news that came in. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I was going to talk about a nice Sunday Night Football preview, Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, Cowboys trying to save their season. Threw that out the window because this came down that Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell are in an all-out civil war. And it's not just these two. They have their respective entourages, if you will. Dan Snyder, for example, supporting Jerry Jones, Arthur Blank on Roger Goodell's side. And there are many different nuggets to this whole story. Jones threatened to sue the league in 2012 after being penalized $10 million in salary cap room for manipulating a contract. And, you know, a lot of people call that just bullcrap. Jones argued to owners in a closed-door meeting that the NFL is creating its own law enforcement arm that might not solve the problems in the NFL and would more likely create a new set of problems. Remember the NFL not letting teams post social media highlights? Jones was the frontrunner of changing all that. This is a story of several different layers, several different tones, too. I just gave you examples of Jerry Jones being friendly with Roger Goodell. I also just gave you examples, which are the more recent ones, of Jerry Jones not getting along with Roger Goodell, talking about the Ezekiel Elliott situation. But obviously, you know, Jones has threatened to sue the league before. There were reports that he was going to do it this year as well. So whose side are you on, ladies and gentlemen? You're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. You have two options, Roger Goodell or Jerry Jones. Laughing face for Goodell, angry face for Jerry Jones. And for the people voting for Jerry Jones and Goodell respectively, throw in the comments section why exactly that is. I want to hear your thoughts on the matter because this is a story that's going to continue to go on. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be a part of the broadcast on Sunday Night Football. It might be a part of future broadcasts for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll tell you what, if the Cowboys continue to lose, like I said, more fuel for Jerry Jones to go after Roger Goodell as hard as possible. We're at about the bottom of the hour here on the Cam Rogers Show. If you're just tuning in, the big-time story coming out this morning per ESPN, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, assuring Jerry Jones back in May that Zeke wouldn't be suspended, and then Zeke ended up being suspended. What happened? Pressure from the owners on Roger Goodell to suspend Zeke. In the midst of contract extension negotiations, Roger Goodell folded. He said, okay, I'll suspend Zeke. Hey, folks, I'm Cam Rogers. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Get the podcast version of the Cam Rogers Show on iTunes by searching the Cam Rogers Show. We are completely live, taking you up until 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Throw in your comments, throw in your thoughts about this breaking news. And like I said, we were going to kick off the show with talking about the injuries to the Dallas Cowboys, Sean Lee and his hamstring, and Tyron Smith and his groin, and how those two big-time pieces are going to be out against Philadelphia, a team that has only lost once this year. Sunday Night Football, NFC East, you got to love it. Then this bombshell comes out. Jerry Jones versus Roger Goodell, all-out civil war in the NFL. And the commissioners in the other 3 major leagues are probably laughing at this. I'm sure Adam Silver is laughing at this story right now or he's probably just face-palming, actually. He's probably doing both. He's laughing, and then he's face-palming. Because he is in this story, number one, because the NFL owners, some of them, or Jerry Jones perhaps, asked Adam Silver to be the next commissioner of the National Football League. Adam Silver immediately said no. That's not surprising to me. So there you have it. That's the breaking news surrounding all of Ezekiel Elliott, Roger Goodell, Jerry Jones right now. This is going to be a shadow casted over this Cowboys team. And for Sunday Night Football, for the remaining games that go on, if the Cowboys continue to lose, Jerry Jones is going to go after Roger Goodell like never before. And after that loss against the Atlanta Falcons, it's already pretty darn bad. And this media report by ESPN this morning, obviously very insane. Just insane. So with all that, we thank you for tuning into the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. We will continue to keep you updated about this story. And a friendly reminder, Don Venata, friend of the program here, we're going to hopefully get him on the program either Monday morning, Wednesday morning. 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when the show begins its broadcast. Don Venata partnering with Seth Wickersham on this ESPN report. I was talking with Don a week and a half ago saying, hey, would love to have you on the program sometime soon. He said, let's hold off a little bit. I have some breaking news coming out. Here's the breaking news. And we'll hopefully have him on the program to chat about all of this. And the unique part about having him on the Cam Rogers Show is that all of you folks out there watching live can throw in your questions, throw in your comments. We'll bring them up on screen for Don to answer. So stay tuned for that. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Download the Cam Rogers podcast on iTunes. Just search the Cam Rogers Show. Leave a review, etc. And I'll keep you all updated on it. And we'll hopefully have Don Venata on the program pretty darn soon. So with all of that, let's transition into the actual game that is going on for the Dallas Cowboys. While we have all of you Cowboys fans out there tuning into this show, I think the Dallas Cowboys, so they're in deep trouble now just in terms of the X's and O's and all that. They're in deep trouble even more so because of this off-the-field story. So the Cowboys, like I said, they're dealing with the Sean Lee hamstring injury, likely out for a few weeks. His absence is so important because he's a guy that is one of the premier run stuffers in the NFL. He is highly graded according to Pro Football Focus. He has a grade of 84 that ranks him 12th among linebackers in the NFL. And Lee has produced a run-stop percentage of 11.9% this year. That's the best among 4-3 outside linebackers this season. So with that, Sean Lee out, there's a big gaping hole in the front seven. That means Jay Ajayi and Clement and that running back core that the Philadelphia Eagles have, LeGarrette Blount as well, are going to be licking their chops staring at that front seven of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, it looks like there's going to be some sort of committee approach to fill this void here. So you have Jalen Smith, who will probably see some more snaps in this coming game on Sunday Night Football. You have Justin Durant, who has been inactive the last 4 games. We're going to be returning into the starting lineup in this game. Anthony Hitchens as well will be seeing some snaps. He's actually played pretty well. You look at his Pro Football Focus grade, a pretty darn good grade. And so those 3 are probably going to be in the fold there, filling that void for Sean Lee. But I also think this Tyron Smith injury is very significant too, because with him out at left tackle and Byron Bell in at left tackle, most likely, Dak Prescott is going to be running for his life. And Dak Prescott is already in a situation where he can't lean on Ezekiel Elliott, much to Jerry Jones' dismay, as we talked about in the breaking news. And so Dak Prescott may be in a situation where he's going to have to throw the football 45, 50 times and outgun Carson Wentz in Jerry's world. And look, they tried to do that against the Atlanta Falcons last week. and it didn't go down. And looking at the NFC playoff picture, the Cowboys are deep down there. They're number 10 as we stand. They're the Eagles at number 1. If the season were to end today, the NFC playoffs would go through Philadelphia. You have the Vikings at 2, Saints at 3 as well. They're playing very good, as well as the Vikings. You have the Rams at number 4. So the Eagles and the Vikings would be getting those 2 bye weeks if the season were to end today. So Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, seems to not want drastic changes here, even with Smith out at left tackle. Quote, I don't know if this is a good strategy, but I don't know if a good pro golfer goes out and plays. He's a top player. If he shoots a 77, probably doesn't go out and get new golf clubs and fire his caddy and do all that. He probably goes out to the range and gets better at some stuff. I think that's the kind of what our approach has to be. Scott, really, dude? It sounds to me like you're going to be rolling with leaving Byron Bell on an island at left tackle when you have the likes of Fletcher Cox, Timmy Jernigan, and company coming after Dak Prescott. Really, Linehan? Really? I'm not sure about that. Brandon Graham playing fantastic as well in that front line. One of the elite grades, actually, in Pro Football Focus. So for that, the Dallas Cowboys and that offense clearly not changing their blocking schemes, according to Linehan here, using a golfing analogy. Yikes. And then the other story, of course, that I have on this graphic, Zeke dropping his appeal. He's going to serve the 5 games that are remaining and will be returning Christmas Eve against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's not, sugarcoat this, ladies and gentlemen. The Dallas Cowboys' playoff hopes come down to Sunday Night Football. So we have a weigh-in for you folks at home. Throw in your comments about this. If the Cowboys lose Sunday night against those Eagles, is the season over? Are their playoff hopes dead? Because we show you the playoff picture, and the Cowboys are deep beneath that 6th seed. They're at number 10 right now, so they are obviously on the outside looking in. We'll be tracking your comments as we see fit, and we'll be perhaps throwing them up on the program here. So the Cowboys, you missed those 3 pieces. Smith, Lee, Elliott. You have Dak Prescott running for his life in this game, coming up against a solid front line in the Philadelphia Eagles. It's looking rough. It's looking rough. Oh, and by the way, you have the breaking news that's going on right now and all that with Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell. Yikes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break here on the Cam Rogers Show. Coming up on the other side, we have NFL on CBS reporter Evan Washburn to talk about little Giants, little Chiefs, some NFL storylines as well. Stick around. It's the Cam Rogers Show. Hey folks, welcome back to the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. We have NFL on CBS reporter Evan Washburn joining the program. Evan getting set for the Giants and the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend on CBS. Evan, thanks so much for jumping on the program. How are we doing?
Doing well, Cam. Thanks for having me.
So a lot to talk about with the NFL. Let's start with your game here, Evan, Chiefs and Giants, and we'll start off with the Giants specifically here. This team has seemed lifeless, and most recently against the 49ers, it was a bad game. Got to ask, what are your impressions of these Giants so far this season?
Yeah, it's been ugly, and it's interesting. I've got a unique view because we had them when they were 0-5 and took on the LA Chargers, and that's when they still had all their weapons, Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, Dwayne Harris, and in that game, all those guys got hurt. And to me, that was kind of when things really shifted, because they should have won the game. They lost control down the stretch. Those guys got injured, and the Chargers come out with a win. Now they go on to win the next week against the Broncos, but it was sort of laid out in front of them that it's going to be really difficult for us to make a real run here without guys like Odell and Brandon and some of the players they lost and some of the defensive players that were beat up as well. So I look at them now, and it is a group that I think you can reasonably question their effort and intensity and some of the execution the last few weeks, where they're just getting blown out at home to a really good Rams team. But obviously last week was probably the biggest indictment of that. So it's one of those things where in our position it'll be with the Giants a lot more about what's happened around them, how they've prepared this week, what they've done, and then early on in this game, if it looks like it's more of the same or they've actually found a way to muster up something based off of the fact that they at least now know that their head coach is not going anywhere until the end of the season, if then.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'll ask you about the Mara family statement in a matter of seconds here, Evan. But first off, you look at the Giants in 2016, 11-5. You know, you thought this year would be the year that they make that Super Bowl push. And so you look at this team now and battling a Chiefs team coming off the bye, Andy Reid, fantastic, coming off the bye, etc. What do you expect out of the Giants coming out of that locker room on Sunday afternoon?
Well, on the positive side, I hope that their meeting on Wednesday that sounds like it was pretty intense and really brought to light a lot of the issues that they felt like were festering, and this defense then held their own players-only meeting. I hope that those things actually provide a spark in that the first quarter of this game, they're playing with a ton of intensity. They're finding a way to play the type of defense that they played at least at times early in the year and obviously much of last season. And then their offense does enough to maintain the ball and not turn it over, and we get a game. I mean, I think we'll know pretty early on what type of Giants team we're going to have. It's especially when you're dealing with a 1-8, 1-9 situation where the first quarter and the first quarter and a half provides a pretty good blueprint, because once things maybe start heading south and the Chiefs break off some big plays or extend their lead to 10, that can affect the way this thing closes out based off the fact the Giants really have nothing to play for.
And, you know, of course, surrounding Ben McAdoo right now, the anonymous reports coming from the players, and then you have the Mara family coming out and releasing a statement in support of Ben McAdoo at this point. So, Evan, was that surprising to you to see that statement? You thought maybe that Ben McAdoo could get fired during the regular season. So when you saw that, what were your impressions?
I thought it was great PR. It doesn't surprise me. The Mara family, the Tisch family, the Giants as a whole, they're a pretty class organization, and they will not and have not ever shown that they're just going to be reactive to what the fan base, what the media is saying. That's not to say, as the statement said, that they're not extremely disappointed. And
right.
Mara has actually responded with handwritten letters to some fans I saw. So they're acknowledging the problem, but in keeping with the identity and brand that they've built, they're just not going to make an in-season change. They rarely, I mean, I think it's one coach in the last 80 years that they've even dismissed after just 2 seasons. Now, that's all to say that I'd be shocked if there aren't sweeping changes made at the end of the season. But I think it is a bit refreshing for an organization ownership to come out and respond and understand why there are such vitriol around the team, but say, look, just you can put it all on hold. Don't waste your energy for the next 6-7 weeks, because nobody's going anywhere at this point.
All right, let's shift over to the Chiefs here, Evan. Of course, a team that has, believe it or not, lost 3 of their last 4. They're coming off a bye now, taking on this Giants team here. And for the Chiefs, obviously, they start off the season great. That opening night victory in Gillette Stadium against the Patriots, and now really fighting for a bye week in the AFC, essentially. What are your thoughts of the Chiefs so far this year?
Well, I think they got off to that hot start. Kareem Hunt was darling as a sort of unheralded rookie. And was extremely productive. Their offense is full of explosive players like Hunt, like Tyreek Hill, DeAnthony Thomas, Alex Smith playing the best football of his career. I think all those things still exist, but the 2 areas that have been affected and probably are at most at fault for the way that they finished out before the bye week is that they had some injuries across the offensive line. Mitch Morse, Duvernay Tardif, those two guys that are kind of really important to what they do, especially in the run game, missed 3 and 5 games respectively. So that affected what Hunt could do. And then defensively, they're just not going to be as impactful as they've been in years past because Eric Berry's obviously been lost for the year. And if they're going to get into games, even those ones they were winning where they got off that 5-0 start, they're going to have to be able to put up points and dominate time of possession with the run game. So they're a group that I think is still capable of all the things we thought about this team when they were 5-0. But I think we have learned that, like most teams in the NFL, the margin for error is slim. If they're going to suffer injuries across their offensive line and they're not going to control time and possession, then their defense is going to be vulnerable, and their defense probably can't win them games.
And you mentioned Alex Smith, Evan, having a fantastic season in his own right, perhaps an MVP campaign right now. And so with that, when you watch the tape on Alex Smith, seems like he's airing it out a little more than he used to, and the whole deal with Smith was like, okay, he had that game manager label and all that. That seems to be out the window this year, right, the way in which he's playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see that there's been a different approach from Alex, and I think he a couple times has shed some light on the fact that by them drafting or trading up to draft Patrick Mahomes in the offseason and all that energy that built during training camp and the preseason, he came in with probably a different mentality. But I think the explosive plays, the downfield passing game, is as much to do with the weapons that he has around him. Travis Kelce's arguably been the best tight end in the game, most consistent because Gronkowski's been in and out of the lineup. And he's a downfield threat. And then I mentioned Hill and Hunt, too, in the passing game. So I think the way this offense is designed, and now with a feature running back like Kareem Hunt when this thing was humming, it allows Alex he's not taking more risks necessarily. He's making the smart play, which is what he's been identified with his entire career. Those smart plays just happen to be a bit more explosive based off of who he has around him.
And the Chiefs, as we stand right now, Evan, number 3 seed of the AFC. We just saw the Steelers last night ball out against the Titans. The Titans, of course, another playoff team as we stand right now in the picture. So talking about the classes of the AFC right now, you have maybe the Patriots and the Steelers, those two right next to each other. Would you put the Chiefs in that conversation too, or are they just a little bit of a notch lower?
No, I mean, I'm curious to see how they come out of this bye week, but I feel confident putting the Chiefs right there with New England and Pittsburgh. Look, Pittsburgh has managed to win games, which is most important, but they haven't looked great doing. I mean, they took the Colts, who are a mediocre team, down to the wire. Their offense until last night hasn't shown the explosiveness that you would think with all the weapons that they have. And Kansas City, as I mentioned, dealt with some injuries and things that took them into the bye week. But I think that they have all the components to be part of that group of 3. And then as we know after that, it's just kind of a mess of teams.
Well, Evan, you know the beauty of live TV. When breaking news hits, you change the script a little bit. And I talked about in the first half of my show the breaking news that came out with Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell and what seems to be a true civil war at this point. Evan, have you had a chance to kind of look into that story? Do you have any initial thoughts in terms of kind of that rift that's going on with the NFL?
I mean, the entertainer in me finds it fascinating, and I think it's interesting. I haven't spent a lot of time on it just because it's not really part of my job description. I'm all about getting ready for a game on Sunday, and if we were doing a Cowboys game, then obviously that would be at the forefront of my mind. And I also know that, and I mean, I think the Ezekiel Elliott aspect to this, just the legalese to me and letters and lawsuits it's something that makes my brain hurt. So, but on the surface, I think it's fascinating, a little bit hilarious to hear these, two kingpins and power brokers argue back and forth about millions of dollars. And at the heart of it, I look at this all as we're all just lucky to be around a game. So I get the seriousness of it, but I do find it a little bit comical as well.
That's actually a great way to put it. Like, it's somewhat serious, but also hilarious at the same time. It's kind of where we're at with this story at this point. Evan, so, of course, as we always do with our guests here on the program, we like to get to know them a little better. So, from what I understand, you're a Baltimore guy, and you went to the University of Delaware. So, that must mean you're best pals with Joe Flacco, right?
Well, it's funny. We actually were there at the same time. I played lacrosse. He played football. So we did cross paths in sort of the athletic side of things. Different personalities, though. And I've gotten to know Joe because I covered the Ravens before I started working for CBS locally. And it's kind of the same guy you see on the field. He's very reserved. He's a down-to-earth dude, but he wasn't much for the social scene. So I know a couple of my friends had classes with him, and we try and drag him out a couple times while we were at University of Delaware. But he laid low. So we didn't cross paths too much on that front. But I have gotten to know him fairly well here in Baltimore, and happy for his success. And it is cool to see a guy that you saw at school do as well as he has.
Well, you got a Ravens fan hosting the show right now. I've got my Flacco jersey on my desk. I've got my Ravens helmet. So I'm sporting the goods right now, so pretty cool to see that we have an NFL reporter from Baltimore on the program as well. So with that, Evan, I want to ask you here. I went to the University of Maryland. I love the state of Maryland. So what makes Maryland special to you?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, there's so many layers to it. I grew up in Annapolis, which for people that don't know is where the Naval Academy is. It's a waterfront town. So I grew up around the water. So to me, that's really what makes Maryland special in the sense that while the seasons, it's not like Florida where you're out on your boat 12 months out of the year, but the summer months and the fall months and the spring months provide a special atmosphere where you're on rivers and waterfront dining and all those things. A lot of my friends that were fortunate enough, some of them have houses on the water. So that lifestyle to me makes Maryland unique. And then really the location, whether you live in Baltimore or Annapolis, your proximity to some pretty impressive areas, whether it be Washington, D.C., it's an hour and a half, 2 hours to Philly, which is a great city. And whether you want to hop on the train or just sit in your car for 4 hours, you're in New York City. So point being, you're kind of in this triangle of some of the most impactful East Coast cities.
Sure.
And so you can grow up with that as part of your life. And for me, Baltimore has become home since I graduated college. And look, there's a lot of negative around this city, whether it be from watching The Wire or some of the things we had a couple of years ago with the riots. But to me, there's some pockets of this city that are special, and I've been lucky enough to live in them. And it's a fun town. So yeah, I couldn't say enough good things about the state of Maryland. It's been home for my whole life, and who knows, it might always be.
Crab cakes and football, baby. You gotta love it.
Well, it's
Evan
really
Washburn.
crab cakes and lacrosse. I know that Wedding Crashers made that tagline impressive, but football, high school football, youth football is not big in Maryland. Look, the Ravens are great. People love football, but if it's, truth be told, it's crab cakes and lacrosse, and that's how that rolls here.
There you go. Women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse at the University of Maryland, a little national championship double dip most recently. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Plenty of friends that were involved in that program, and I was happy to see him finally on the men's side end that winless streak of national champs.
You got it there. And go Terps, ladies and gentlemen. That is Evan Washburn, NFL on CBS Reporter. Check him out this week on CBS. Chiefs and Giants doing battle in MetLife Stadium. Evan, thanks so much for taking the time, sir. Really appreciate it and wish you all the best.
No problem, Cam. Have a good day.
All right, there you have it. Many thanks to Evan for jumping on the program here. As we wrap up the Cam Rogers Show, we remind you the breaking news that came out today. Roger Goodell assuring Jerry Jones that he wouldn't suspend Zeke. Well, he ended up doing that, and ESPN reported the bombshell story this morning. We will loop the show again, so if you missed it, you can check it out again. Download the Cam Rogers podcast. Just search The Cam Rogers Show on iTunes. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I will see you Monday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you.